Welcome to Cooking with Glenn and Katie.
Today we are going to share with you a delicious dinner roll recipe, as well as several different ways to form the dinner rolls and top the dinner rolls. So let's get started.
I'm going to proof the yeast, and I've got some water I put in the microwave for 1 minute, and it is about 110, 113 degrees, 14 degrees. You want it to be below 115 degrees. And then I'm going to add 5 teaspoons of sugar and 1 package, but I use it in bulk. I make a lot of bread. So I've got 1 tablespoon of yeast. Now I'm going to blend this together, and I'll let it sit for 10 minutes. While the yeast is proofing, you need to get 3½ cups of bread flour, 1 tablespoon of any kind of oil. I've got canola oil. And finally, 1½ teaspoons of salt. I know this is not high tech, but I've got one of these little kitchen timers. I like it because there's so many timed processes I've got. I can talk to Google, or I can talk to Alexa and have them do it, but I love my little timer. Now let's look to see about the yeast. It's nothing worse than having some bad yeast and messing up your whole recipe, but we can tell, look at that. It is active yeast. And so we're good to go on this recipe. So I'm going to add 3 more ingredients to this. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of oil, 1½ teaspoons of salt, and then finally I'm going to put in the 3½ cups of bread flour. This time I'm going to go ahead and start the mixing, and I'm going to start with it on low, and then after just a little bit I'm going to move it up to the second speed, move it up a little bit, and it will go for 8 minutes. It's been 8 minutes, so let's look at the dough. I'll lift this up, and notice that the dough is sticking a little bit down here, and so you don't want it to be sticky, and so I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of bread flour. I'll continue to do that until it's not sticking anymore. Okay, we're looking here, and I think it's fine. Not too sticky at all. I'll pull this off. Now I'm gonna put it on a mat. I've got a mat here. You can just put on your counter. But when I lift it up, notice it's not sticky. So when you push down and you fold it like this and bring it in, you don't want anything to stick here. If it's sticking at this point, you can dust with just a little bit of flour and knead it just a little bit until it's not sticky anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to make kind of a log out of this. And I want everything to be about the same width here. And now I'm going to start pressing it. I'll press it out. And I can feel the thickness as I'm pressing. Let's measure it. It is 12 inches long and it is 6 inches wide. So this is perfect. Now I'm going to cut it into 12 strips. And to do that, I'm going to place my ruler here, go to the 6-inch mark, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it right here. Now, I know by eyeing it that this is about halfway, so I'm gonna go ahead and go halfway here. I'm gonna go on this side over here. I'm gonna go halfway here. Now I'm gonna cut each strip into 3 pieces. The pizza cutter makes it so simple to cut straight lines, and I'm cutting these in thirds. Now, I'm going to take each one of the strips here, and they're 6 inches long, and I'm going to stretch them out to be about 8 inches, which is about half the distance on here, so I can put two rows here. So this is one 8-inch, this is another one. I'm going to microwave this towel for 30 seconds in the oven. And I'm going to turn the oven on to 350 degrees, just so it can kind of warm up for about 30 seconds to a minute. We'll turn the oven off, the oven light on. I'll put this on the top rack of the oven. Today I'm going to be making some dinner rolls. I'm going to be making 12 different shapes, 24 dinner rolls, so 2 of each shape. And to practice, I wanted to use some Play-Doh, and I've got grandkids, so I've got Play-Doh, and I found I had some that it was a whole container that I did not give out at Halloween. So I've got 6 different colors, and I found that when I rolled those, I was able to roll them out in 1-foot section. It just looks exactly like dough does. And so this was perfect. So I could take a piece of dough and I could play around with it. This particular one, I'm going to roll in like this, doing it slow so I can have the same amount on both sides. I come here and there it is. So a pretty shape. So I'm going to use that one. I've got the dough out of the oven. Let's look at it. It's about doubled in size. And now I'm going to keep this damp, warm cloth on it, and I'm going to take the dough out one at a time so the dough does not dry out. So this is my first piece here. I'm going to cover this back up, and I'm going to stretch it down. I'm going to do this one time, and then after I do this, then the next one, you'll just see pieces of dough that I work with. But I do everything the same way. I pull it out, then I'm gonna roll it out like this until it's about 24 inches. This should be about 24 inches, which it is. It's over 24 inches, which is okay. Your target is 24, and then you loop this around, and then you cut it. We'll roll this out just a little bit. The first shape is a tie. So there it is. And you can position it on the pan, and then you can kind of manipulate it to be the shape you want it to be. So you can kind of fix it a little bit. Okay, and I'm gonna make the next shape. This is the one I played with the Play-Doh. This next shape is a scroll. Just going to kind of roll this in like this until they meet. this shape is a heart. So I'm going to bring it up like this, and I'm going to make a V. I'm going to squeeze the end down here. Squeeze the end. Then I'm going to bring both pieces in here, and I'm going to squeeze these pieces together. So you've got a heart shape, and you can adjust that. With this shape, I'm going to make a snake. I'm going to move this over 2 inches. Move this up. Move this. Like this. And like that. So I call that the snake shape. The next shape is a twisted 8. And to do that, I'm going to put these 2 ends together like this. Putting the 2 ends together, and then I'm simply going to twist it like this to make an 8. I put the place I jointed it on the bottom so it's pretty on the top. On this one, I'm just going to make a long twist like this. I'm not pulling it tight or anything. I'm making it loose, and this is the shape I want it to be. On this shape, I'm going to make the dough a little bit more narrow, and then I'm going to put the 2 together like this, and I'm going to start crossing it. And each time I cross it, I'm going to pull the dough a little bit and cross. Pull the dough a little bit. So I'm still thinning it out a little bit as I pull it to make it longer. Then I'm going to circle these, put the 2 ends together like that, and you've got a circle. On this one, I'm going to roll it out a bit thinner, and I'm going to put these together like this, and then I'm going to cross it. I'm going to cross it tight, so each time I cross the dough pieces, I pull down on the dough. I'm going to bring the 2 ends together, press them together like this, and then I'm going to twist, make a twist, and put the side that I put together on the bottom, and I've got a twisted 8. On this one, you want it to be 12 inches. I'm going to cut it in thirds, so I'm going to cut it at the 4-inch line and the 8-inch line. Then I'm going to place it together where I make it in like thirds shapes here. So it looks like a kind of a windmill, but it's a fidget spinner, so I'm going to move this down like that, move this one here, and I'll move this one here. So that's a fidget spinner shape. This piece of dough I'm going to cut into 3 pieces because I'm going to braid it. That's 12, 13 inches, so it's about 4.5 inches is what I'll do it with. So I go 4.5, and then I'll do another 4.5. Then we're going to braid it. And then to do that, we punch these ends here. And then I stretch it out a little bit as I twist it. Stretch it out. Each time you do this, you stretch it out just a little bit. So that's a braid right there. I'm going to roll this into a bun shape. I'm just going to twist it around like this, very lightly. Here we go. I put both trays in the oven to rise. I'm gonna let them sit for about 15 minutes before I put the egg wash on them. While you're waiting for the bread to rise for the second time, go ahead and find out what you can put on the bread to make it special. You put the egg wash on and then you sprinkle things on it to make them different. And I'm gonna try to make 12 different types of topping for mine. In my pantry, I found some garlic and I found some Asian, which is garlic and ginger, onion. I've got some poppy seed, dill. I found some everything bagel spices, some tuxedo blend, some black sesame, white sesame, some rosemary, Asiago, and some Parmesan cheese. When I cook with rosemary, I take the rosemary and I use the leaves on the very bottom and keep these leaves on. And then I put them in a vase that has water in it with previously used rosemary. And then I give it to my friends when they come to the house and they appreciate it. And all they have to do is plant it in a pot and they've got rosemary. I just pulled these out of the oven and they've been rising for 15 minutes. They've about doubled in size. And notice that these rolls don't look exactly the same, which is okay. You got the different shapes, but they got their own personality. So I'm gonna start by putting some egg wash. And I'll put on the first one here. You wanna make sure you cover it all and then the sides, but do it gently so you don't deflate the dough. And then you put a topping on it. Before I egg wash anything else, I'm gonna put the topping on this one and I'm putting poppy seeds on it. I'm gonna continue to put egg wash and toppings on all the shapes, and then I'll show you what it looks like when I finish. The oven has preheated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and now I'm gonna put the pans in the oven. This has risen for the longest amount of time. I'm gonna put it on the top rack. And I'm gonna put this other one right underneath it. I will cook these for 20 minutes before I take them out. But at the 10-minute mark, if your oven does not cook evenly, I will take the trays out, turn them around, and swap the rack level on the pans. It's been 25 minutes. You can cook them, depending on your stove, 20, 25 minutes. Let's look at them. They're just starting to turn brown. So this is perfect. This is the way I like them.
As you guys can see, this recipe is extremely simple and delicious. You've got so many variations for how you can form your dinner rolls as well as top them, which is great for hosting parties and letting people be able to decide exactly what they want. Dad, would you mind showing the basket? Look at these, you guys. Are they not absolutely beautiful? Dad worked so hard, but Dad and I were talking a little bit ago and he mentioned how fantastic with the different shapes and flavors these are as conversation starters with your family and friends when you host parties. And I completely agree with you on that. I mean, they're great conversation starters. So if you guys enjoyed today's recipe, please be sure to give us a thumbs up and comment below, especially if you're able to try the recipes. We'd love to hear from you. And before we move forward, as always, every single recipe that we post, we also put the actual written recipe in a link in the description box below. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so, and don't forget to click the notification bell so that you're notified with every new video. And we will see you guys next time.
See ya.